Hi, Nature Connected family. How are you all? I welcome you to our last Insta Live today for Relax with Roses series. And I am so excited to unpack what we are about to discuss today. So, before we move forward, I will introduce him to you. So let's wait till he joins. Oh wow. So Sohail has actually joined us. Thank you, Sohail. Thank you so much for joining us.
Somebody hates, thank you.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, wonderful.
Somebody hates.
Sorry?
I was saying someone hates saying thank you.
Okay, okay. So let's start our conversation for today. So all of you, I have seen a number of new people have joined our channel. So I am Fatma, naturally Fatma. I basically call myself as a nature connected lifestylist. So my work is all around guiding people towards a self love journey by connecting with nature, nature elements, sun, soil, plants, air, and anything which is available in nature, and use those elements to come back to ourselves, come back to a self love journey, come back to a self relationship with ourselves. So so I've curated a small self-love journey which is called Relax with Roses. Being a plant intuitive, I received some messages from roses which needs to be shared with the whole world. Exactly. So before moving towards or before launching my self-love journey with roses, I wanted to inquire this question that what's your happy place? Because here in Pakistan or even in surrounding countries, the path of self-love or the idea to be on self-love is such an unknown or novel idea that people hardly take this path in their life, or they hardly think about that. Oh, this is also something they can think of or they can move towards. So that's why I thought that this would be such a wonderful question to explore with my community. So we have Suhail with us here. So before we start our conversation, I would really like to tell you all about Suhail because he is the major reason why I am here today on my self-love journey, on my self-love path. He has been the guiding light or the guiding source behind me as a personality, and he is my partner in all the crimes, all the activities which I do. He's my partner in life, and we have so much to share, and we feel so much excited about what we are about to embark on this self-love journey. So, Sohail is basically a trauma recovery practitioner. He also calls himself an emotions intuitive and consciousness coach. So before we move forward towards any questions, Sohail, I would really like you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay, so thank you, Fatma, for having me on your channel, Fatma ji. Uh, well, I'm an intuitive. If one word can describe me, and the word is intuitive. So, and my intuition is specially related to emotions. So I'm an emotions intuitive. And I've learned this technique uh, called the completion process. And after learning completion process, I think my avenues um, around healing and shadow work and inner child work sort of open. So I also call myself shadow work and inner child worker. And these are
Okay.
forms of these are modalities whereby you use these modalities to heal from childhood and relational trauma. And besides this, I found that, the kind of trauma I went through, and it's like relationships is at the core of my work. So,
Mm.
so it's like emotional bypassing or spiritual bypassing is very rampant in the world, and so this is something that I would like to contribute, um, which is known as relational healing. So you heal in relation
Okay.
because you are wounded in relationships. So this is my path.
Okay.
And thirdly, I have also a quality to tap into collective consciousness of group or people that I work with, and I can sort of tap into their positive vibration and what are the dominant shadows of that particular group or
Wonderful.
person or people I work
Wonderful.
with.
Can you speak a little bit louder because
Okay,
yeah, your voice a little bit low.
okay, so I'll try.
Yeah. I would really like our listeners to know that Sohail was actually the person with whom I really wanted to start this Insta Live series. And but universe had different plans and somehow we were not able to do it. And today we are sort of ending our Insta Live series with Sohail, and the gifts which he has just discussed about. That he can tap into the collective unconscious, and all his work around trauma and all his work around relationship healing, that is really going to help us in today's discussion. So I would like to start with the first question. So you being a trauma recovery practitioner, right? So when we come from the lens of trauma, you know, yeah, you have been healing through trauma all your life. You have been working with clients who come to you for their trauma healing. So when we look at the lens of trauma, so happiness feels like it is somewhere very far, not in the picture, right? Very far. So I would really like to know that from the lens of trauma, how do you see or how do you define what's your happy place?
That's interesting the because from the lens of trauma, happiness might be something. One needs to understand what is trauma first in order to understand what happiness
Mm-hmm.
would look like from the lens of trauma. So
Mm-hmm.
trauma is basically a kind of distress that you don't find resolve with. It's like there's a distress, but you don't find that resolve to that distress. And when trauma happens, it's like from a consciousness perspective, you split yourself or you split your consciousness into two. That's what I've learned. So happiness
Okay.
would be integration of those streams of consciousness. So for example, think of a
Mm-hmm.
person as a stream. And when a person is traumatized, a stream is divided. So a person's energy is divided into different streams. So that's what trauma does to people. So they split themselves because they cannot split themselves bodily. So what they do, they split themselves energetically to survive from that particular distress that they have encountered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for me, happiness is basically integrating those splits. Happiness is about finding resolve for the distress that the people or the person is going through. This is what I would say.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And when you ask me what is my happy place, I have a list of it, I think. When I go to shower, that's my happy place. When I take my morning tea, that's my happy place. When I play with dogs, that's my happy place. When I uh, uh, go to my roof and watch that sunset, that's my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Mm-hmm.
cuddle you, that's my happy place. And when I gym, it's like gym is my happy place. And when I get to use my warrior energy there, that's my happy place. When I sing, that's my happy place. And when I do my client work, I think client work is kind of a play for me. And when I'm playing with my clients, I feel greatest happiness there. So I have a long list of happiness when I go for walk. That's my happy place. And food is my happy place because when I put peanut butter on my slice, apple, banana, it's like, that's my happy place. So,
Okay, so that is so wonderful because this is really an interesting question which I had in my mind. That when we see it from the lens of trauma, it feels like happiness is nowhere in the picture, and nowhere in the picture. And for example, when anybody is in trauma or has been in trauma, so it takes a life, it takes a lifetime to heal from it. So, for example, your happy place would have definitely been different when you were a 5 year old, or your happy place would have been different when you were working in your job, or right now your happy place would definitely be different. So, so being on this journey of life, being on this journey of knowing yourself, being on this journey of self-awareness. So how do you see, what do you think that what are those moments, situations, or relationships or spaces where do you feel that if these components are in that picture, the picture is complete, the picture is full, you get a fullness, you get fullness of feeling from life, and you don't need anything in that moment. So what are those situations, spaces, or moments you would like to say?
I think, if you would have asked me 2 weeks earlier, I wouldn't be able to answer
Mhm.
this question. And I,
Okay.
I may sound a little bit bold, but when I do self pleasure, when I go into this space where, for example, I'm with you, like I cuddle you, these are the moments where I feel that I forget about that thing what you are saying. It's like
Mhm.
you allow your mind to drop into your body, and once you
Mhm.
are in your body, then it guides you. It's like that's where I feel most connected and
Mhm.
most mm, in union with who I am.
Mhm.
That's what I would say.
I think this is a very important point which you have highlighted, that when you are in your body, I mean, really, when you are in your body, when you can feel that your body is a place which can you don't know, but your body can unknowingly guide you towards where, what's your happy place, where do you want to go, what do you want to do, what do you want, what choice you want to take. So that this is something which is a very important point which I feel in this conversation. So Suhail, what do you think is the role of this happy place? I mean, in your life, in all the settings you have been through, life experiences you have been through, what if this happy place was not there? What was life without this happy place? If this happy place was not in your life.
I believe that there are two energetic movements in the world.
Mm,
And these two energetic movements is movements, sorry. It's like what we do. We go towards pleasure and happiness, and we want to avoid pain
mm,
and hurt and all those negative things. So
mm,
it's like there are two energetic movements. So we move towards something most of the time, happiness, joy, bliss, serenity, whatever you may want to call it.
mm,
And we want to
mm,
avoid pain at any cost. So
mm,
I believe that it's like when I hear you, it seems that happiness is a conceptual thing, but it's like
mm,
it is so diverse from people to people. Is that people may want to find use a different word for that particular thing. So,
Hmm.
it's like the so what I would say is that um, it cannot happen. You know, it's like happiness has always been there, it is there, and it will be there. And
Hmm.
I cannot imagine the world without happiness because um, I may ask you to define happiness in the first place. But let's assume
Hmm.
that happiness is feeling good. It's about feeling good, or if it is about feeling better. Because if it
Hmm.
is not there, then this world
Hmm.
would be a disaster, I think. Because everybody wants to
Hmm.
feel good, everybody wants to um, feel better, you know. That
Hmm.
feeling better thing that drives people. If that's not there, then there is no point of living.
Hmm. Okay, so just another question which just came to my mind, that when you said that when you move towards happiness, it's like you are moving away from pain or hurt, right? Or you want to you don't want to face that pain, or you don't want to face that hurt, and that's why you move towards happiness. So so it's just a question. So for example, if one is moving from that space towards happiness, that that the person is in pain or is in hurt, and it is moving towards happiness. So how do you see is the authenticity or the fullness or completeness of that happy moment in that person? So is that happiness really authentic or true, or not?
I find that the existence of one does not nullify existence of the other thing, which means that if you are in pain, but that doesn't mean that you cannot feel happiness. Do you see?
Hmm.
Is that existence of pain doesn't deny the existence of happiness and vice versa.
Okay.
That's what I
Okay.
believe.
Okay.
Is that so? It's like you have this free will, you have this autonomy to tap into
Hmm.
the energy of pain or energy of happiness. And
Okay.
so, but that's also a problem when you try to avoid pain in order to feel happiness. That would be inauthentic.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
avoid
that's what I was saying.
pain, yes, so avoidance of pain is not happiness for me.
Hmm.
Real happiness for me is like this. So I would say that yeah, I feel the pain, but now I'm consciously moving towards happiness because my pain is telling me, because pain has the seed of
Hmm.
happiness. That's what I would say. Because what is pain?
Beautiful.
Pain is basically telling you where to move, and it's like where to move is happiness. So when so let me give you an example.
Hmm.
For example, I was abandoned when I was 4. Then, abandonment is painful. And now, what is happiness for me? Because now I know that abandonment is the distress that I encountered. Then, then connection or sense of belonging would be happiness for me. So if I know it, then I can consciously move into that space. So I'm not denying pain at the same time, uh, but I'm moving towards something which my pain is telling me, because pain is a messenger. But what we
Wow.
believe that pain is something that we need to just dump it down in a dungeon. That's not pain is, because we have misunderstood pain. Pain is the
Wow.
root to happiness. So within the pain, the seed of happiness exists. And within happiness, there
Wow.
is a seed of pain that exists. Because you cannot separate both.
I mean, this is so beautiful. I mean, you have really what I would say shifted my perspective uh, towards happiness. How do I see happiness? And this is such a complete way you have described it, that uh, pain actually has the seed of happiness, and pain actually really knows that what is happiness and where you really need to move towards. So if it is like, if you are not embracing pain, if you are not fully and completely present with pain, um, you cannot move towards your full and complete and authentic happiness, right?
Yes, because everything is about polarity. How can you imagine
Mm.
happiness without experiencing pain? It's like it's like people just want to feel happy without feeling the pain, and that won't work because
Mm.
the universal law is of polarity.
Wow.
I hate to say it because I also don't like pain. So
Nobody
everybody
likes.
wants, yeah, everybody wants to. But
Mm.
the universal perspective, the universe doesn't see that way. It's like,
Mm.
if we were to feel happiness, how would we know that that's a happy place? Because if we haven't seen the sad face, or
Ah.
if we haven't seen the hurt and pain, you can't feel happy because it wouldn't be possible. It's like knowing black without knowing the white. It's like, you know,
Beautiful.
you cannot imagine happiness unless, why would you talk
Beautiful.
about happiness unless you have been in a place where you have been hurt, you have been denied, rejected, disowned.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for this lovely piece of nugget. So moving on towards my next question, Sahil. So what do you think is that one thing which you do? I mean, obviously, you definitely follow a daily schedule. So, what do you think is that one thing which you do for your own self and just for your own happiness? Just for your own happiness. One thing which you do daily.
Uh, I don't know where it would count as happiness, but one thing that comes to my mind and what I do on a regular basis is is this is my how should I put it? It's like my curiosity to learn what is my personal truth in every situation. Is that what
Mhm.
is my personal truth in that particular situation? And that would be my happy because that would make me happy. Because
Mhm.
the road to happiness goes through knowing my personal truth. If I don't know what my personal truth is with that particular person, in that particular situation, or
Mhm.
event, then I won't be able to feel happiness
Mhm.
because because I suffer from lack of clarity because of my own trauma, and therefore
Mhm.
knowing my personal truth is synonymous to making me feel happy. So that's the struggle in a positive way that I sort of engage in on a daily basis. What's my personal truth relative to a particular relationship, relative to a particular situation, event?
Mhm.
That's what makes me happy.
And
Uh,
and And how do you go about this? I mean, when you are saying that on daily basis you are trying to find your personal truth, I mean, one interacts with X number of situations from day start till day end. So how do you go about finding that personal truth?
it's about it's like uh, self-inquiry, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
self-inquiry. So it's like there are various tools to come across your personal truth. So, for example, it can be a simple way of ordering a meal when you are at a restaurant. So, for example, what you
Mm.
would like to eat. And so, for example, you may want, so sometimes people don't know what to order. You know, it's like they will
Mm.
look at the menu and they will be confused. A person like me. So it's like
Mm.
what do I desire at that particular moment? So it's so the sense of self-inquiry can guide you. Okay, what do I like? It's like questioning yourself, giving
Wow.
yourself a lot of choices in that particular situation.
Wow.
Because finding personal truth will vary from situation to situation. So, so in this situation, when I'm to order food at a restaurant, then I would sort of engage myself into that kind of inquiry. Oh, when I will order desserts, what I would like to have, it's like I should go for ice cream or I should go for lemonade. So if I have choices, then I can sort these choices. Okay, no, I like ice cream. Okay, so I'll go for that. So it's like, and personal truth is not a kind of a cast in stone thing. It's like it will vary from situation to situation. One day you might want to have ice cream, but the other day you might want to have mint lemonade or
Seriously.
self answer. We need to inquire. It's like it's
Yeah.
like you know.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I think, yeah, this is again a very liberating and again a very self-reliant tool which you have added towards finding your personal truth, that be in a state of self-inquiry. And definitely being in a state of self-inquiry and being very curious, it is definitely going to guide you somewhere to make right choices which makes one happy. So moving towards the last question. So, what's one suggestion you would like to give our audience? I mean, your followers, my followers who are listening it live or who would be catching it as a replay. What one suggestion you would like to give them that they can find this happy place for themselves, or if they have never thought about this idea, so how they can start thinking so that their mind at least move on that terrain of finding the happy place for themselves.
So there may be different ways to do that, and so I won't suggest. Uh, it's like it won't be a suggestion, but I can what I can share with you is a process, that would help people to find their happiness. So I think number one thing that people can do is to define what is happiness for themselves. It's like everyone needs to their, uh, ask their own selves, what is happiness for me? How do I define happiness? It's
Okay.
like asking this question of what is happiness for me is step one. Because why I'm proposing this step? Because if people don't know what is their meaning of happiness, how do they define
Okay.
happiness in the first place, they won't be able to reach where they want what makes them happy. So it's very important to crystallize what is happiness for them. Is to
Okay.
is to understand. So it's like happiness is not a concept for me. Happiness is more or less is like a vibration to me. Like a sound. So if I ask you to play to hit the note C sharp minor, C sharp minor is a note. When you play that note, it's a vibration. It's a sound. You can recognize it that this is C sharp minor. So similarly, people need to ask themselves what is happiness for them, because it's a vibration. It's kind of an energy. It's not a concept. So once they are able to pin down what happiness is for them, then the second step is to move towards happiness. That's the second step. Is that if happiness for you is to um, hike, for example, is to go and hike, yeah, then it's like, so for example, step one, I know I love to be in nature. Okay, what I do then? Okay, so step second is I can hike. I can go towards hilly areas and I can hike there. This is where I find happiness. Okay, but happiness is not that easy. You have parts of come to you, no, I hike because it's too far away. I don't have car, I don't have money, you know. So what is this? This is resistance to happiness.
Wow, that's
And
beautiful.
so
Hmm.
step three is you know what kind of resistance you have towards this happiness because guess what? Everybody wants to be happy. You know, everybody wants to seek their happiness. But you know, the major elephant in the room that people don't talk about is the resistance to happiness. So
Wow.
unless you talk about and eliminate those resistance,
Hmm.
then you won't be able to feel happiness. So that's
Hmm.
that's step three.
Hmm.
So
What?
identify and eliminate those resistance, those contrary thoughts and beliefs and emotions and negative thinking that refrains you from getting you to that happy place.
Hmm. So,
Yeah.
so basically,
Step
you are saying three steps.
no, there's one step more.
Okay, okay. Sorry. Yeah,
So step four. What is step four?
yeah.
Is to, is
Hmm.
to remain in that happy place. Is that how do you maintain that happy place? It's like so you know that you love nature. You have been to hiking. You know that you have money problems, but you have somehow managed to hike because you arranged. You found a friend who has the car and he can bring you, or she can bring you to that place. Now what happens? So how do you maintain that happy
Hmm.
place? How do you maintain that
Hmm.
you are constantly in that vibration of happiness? How do you do that? So that's step four. Because if you can maintain that happy place more and more internally and externally,
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
expand the experience of happiness.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how do you maintain that? So it's like you could better your relationship with happiness. So you ask yourself, what is my relationship to happiness? And if you improve your relationship with happiness, then guess what? It's your happy place. So these are the four steps that I
Because
would
it comes
propose.
in your conscious awareness.
Then you know. It's like,
Yeah,
then you don't have to think about that. It's like you
yeah.
want something and it's there.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So you are suggesting four steps. Number one is people define what is happiness for themselves. Number two is that they take action towards that happiness, whatever they want to do. Number three is working on or getting to know the resistance which is in the way towards happiness. And the number four is to maintain, to remain in that state of happiness by maintaining that state of happiness, right?
Yes.
Wow, wonderful. I think this is such a wonderful exercise because if anybody, this is so simple. I mean, if anybody can answer these simple questions for themselves, it is right here in front of them and it's like that suddenly the clouds have shattered, the clouds have gone inside, and the clarity is, and you arrive on a clear state that yeah, this is what happiness is. This is what happiness for me. This is how I want to go about it. This is the resistance, and this is how I can sustain it. Wonderful. So thank you so much, Sohail. I mean, for these how I would say wisdom bites from you on this simple question of what's your happy place. So I think whoever is listening or whoever will be catching it replay would really be inspired or would really feel that they have got something from today's conversation. So moving on towards next segment that we are actually summarizing all the discussions we had on this platform of what's your happy place. So how would you like to summarize or what are for example, 3, 4 points which you would like to bring to the notice of the audience, that these, all the speakers, I mean, I think today is our 8th Insta Live, right? So whatever the happy places or insight about happy places people have been sharing through all these weeks, how would you like to summarize it and bring the points in highlight?
Okay, so as I was going through the talks or Insta lives
Mm,
that you've
mm,
done, and as I was
mm,
going through the description, and as I was
mm,
also tapping into the the speakers, I feel that
mm,
if I were to summarize the happy
mm,
places of those people, I would say that there are three ways people are seeing happiness or finding themselves to be happy in those areas.
mm,
So the first thing
mm,
is that they are looking towards themselves for happiness. It's like they are saying, if I am happy, then everything is happiness for me. It's that their focus on their own
mm,
selves makes them happy.
mm,
That's the
mm,
one thing that makes people, was those people that you had Insta live
mm,
with, they are seeking
mm,
happiness within
mm.
themselves, like
Within
internal happiness.
themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And interestingly,
Mm,
there are other people who are seeking happiness within their relationships. It's like for them
mm,
to be to be with loved ones, to be with people who they would
mm,
love to talk or chat or be with. That's their
mm,
happy place. So relationship
mm.
is the second thing that people look towards for happiness.
Wow.
It's like they are saying that if I'm with my favorite people, that's my happy place. If I'm happy with them,
Mm,
that's what happiness is for me.
mm,
And the third thing, what I've noticed is that there's important category that people are bringing in for happiness, which struck me, is about their relationship with earth and nature.
wow.
So
Wonderful.
that was pretty interesting for me. And
Mm,
I feel that the nature is speaking through that, because I haven't heard any people wanted to be in nature, but it's like having a
mm,
relationship with nature is a different thing. So I feel that people feel, uh, especially those speakers, when they are
mm,
connected with nature, when they are in
mm,
nature and somehow feel connected to nature or earth elements as you work on earth
mm,
elements. So it's like
mm.
they feel most happiest about it. So this is how I
Wow.
summarize. So they
Wow.
feel most when they seek happiness within themselves. It's like they find happiness within, in their relationships, and within the broader nature or earth.
Wow. I feel, I mean, right now I would say that I am really in my happy place because I feel that the intent or the essence with which I designed this talk or this Insta Live series or these questions, I think they have served their purpose. I mean, the way you are summarizing it, because obviously I was into the process, I was um, back and doing all the logistics and all, and I was hearing their responses and all, but I did not connected the dots like this, and that's, I mean, that's the skill or that's the beauty again you have in your conversation, that you summarize it so well and connect the dots. So, so thank you so much for that. And I feel that, I mean, yeah, I mean, Relax with Roses is now so much ready to come to come to the platform or to share with the people, because whether it's their speakers or whether it's the listeners or anyone who is even watching the status or a description, somehow one way or the other these elements they are finding in themselves to find the happiness or find their happy places. So moving on to our last bit of this Insta Live series. So first also help us understand that what is a collective shadow, so that people who don't know that what a collective shadow is, they get an understanding about it, and then help and then share with us that what is the collective shadow of this happy place for among all the speakers, among this Insta Live, among everything. This is your gift, and I would really love to hear it.
Yeah. So basically, collective shadow is basically saying that it's like there is something that you don't know. It's like I want happiness. You know, everybody wants happiness, as I was saying. But you know, it's not the entirety of our truth. There are parts of us that doesn't want to feel happy, because from their perspective, happiness is pain for them. So they don't want to feel happy, because consider, if somebody who is traumatized because they were happy, then they don't want to feel happy. Do you see? So
Wow.
collective shadow is the part of collective consciousness that they don't know that they don't know, or that they don't know that exists within them. So I
Okay.
may preach
Okay.
about happiness, but there might be a part of me that doesn't damn want to be happy. It hates happiness. It's like
Wow.
this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just
So
give me a second. Just give me 1 second. 1 second.
okay. Okay, so meanwhile Fatma is not there, I would also add that collective shadow can be also known as the collective blind spot, because blind spot is a very common term people use. In management,
Hmm.
they blind spot is a spot that they don't know that exists and which needs to
Hmm.
be addressed. So it's like blind spot which is unknown from the conscious
Hmm.
awareness. That's what
Hmm.
collective shadow is all about.
Okay. So yeah, now I think whoever is listening would definitely know that what is this? What do we mean by collective shadow? So now reveal your response to us.
So, as I and I'm not an exception, because I'm also part of collective.
Hmm.
So I would
Even
also
I am.
include.
Even I
It's
am.
like I'm not passing a judgment on anyone. It's like we all have that shadow. We all have that blind spot, and that blind
Hmm.
spot is overlay.
Okay. How does
Over.
how?
So basically, an overlay, it's a reality that we have in our mind. It doesn't exist in our external reality. So
Okay.
it's like we want that happy place, but since we can't find it outside, we have created a dream sort of a reality within our heads. And we live that
Hmm.
reality within our heads, and we feel that we are happy. But actually, we are not. That's an overlay. So,
Wow.
so I feel that, there's a chase, happiness chase, I believe. That people want to
Hmm.
chase happiness. And it's like it's kind of
Hmm.
an obsession sometimes. And when this overlay is very much active in human psyche, that's where we pretend to be happy, but actually we are not.
Wow.
So that overlay
Wow.
is the collective shadow or the blind spot of whosoever listening to us, whosoever will listen to this live, or your followers, or everyone.
Hmm.
That's what I feel. So it's not what I
Beautiful.
think, it's what I feel. It's like that's
Ah,
what.
wonderful. Wonderful. I mean, I think this had to happen. I mean, for me, it happened very organically the way I did this Insta Live, and the way I'm designing this Relax with Roses. But yes, before it is ready to be shared with the audience. I mean, this has had to happen because really it is my intent, and it is my what you would say, pray, or my hope that Relax with Roses help people somehow, or guide people somehow to connect with their innate, true, and authentic self, to find that innate, true, and authentic point or moment or piece of happiness for themselves. And so yeah, and you have also been interacting with roses for quite some while in past couple of weeks. So how you would like to share your experience with roses?
Oh, so it's about, the work you are doing is quite phenomenal. Because what Fatma is doing and what I've understood is that Fatma is bringing this lost consciousness of roses. Because every plant has its own consciousness. It brings its own set of feeling, thinking, beliefs, personal truths. That is true for themselves. It's like if you bring rose has its own consciousness. It doesn't speak like human, but it has it, as I was saying, sound has vibration. Similarly, everything travels in a state of vibration. Otherwise, they cannot exist. So what I believe that roses have this very unique presence, I must say, because roses have this presence. It's very feminine, so it's very inviting. It's very receptive. It's very receiving. And as I was going through this heartbreak recently, and what I found that it's through you, thanks to you, because you brought that bunch of roses, and it's like while I was sitting with them, they were, it's like they were my companions sometimes during the healing process. So it's like, as you've also found out that basically roses uh, uh, is about the lost beauty. And and I think what I found is that the part of me that I was abandoning in that process of heartbreak, I've sort of tried to reclaim that aspect. And especially the aspect of me, they are very young, it's like uh, 15, 20 years old self of mine. I think that I've lost somewhere in past years. And I think
Yes.
roses were the symbol for me because roses symbolizes that reintegration of my youth into me and my own sexuality. And so because I'm a man, it's like I'm here to actualize my own masculinity. And if I'm around real feminine energy, because roses are basically what use roses, every flower is vulva. You know that. It's like if you understand the anatomy of a rose, then you would see that basically roses are vulvas. And
Yes.
when you are around vulvas, you have to be masculine if you are a man. And you have to be more feminine when you are around that kind of consciousness.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with roses. Because when I decided that I really want to share these messages which roses have shared with me with the world, the biggest challenge which I had in front of me there was that how would I make people understand what I am really trying to say? How would I really make them believe that this is something has happened or this happens, and there's a message for them in that beautiful flower. So what I would really like to share here is that some people might know, but for some people, this idea might still be very novel. That yes, plant consciousness exists, and plant consciousness has humongous power to move your life towards the way you want it to be moved, to fulfill your desires the way you want them to be fulfilled. And the way I have been on my this self awareness journey, and uh, knowing different parts of myself. I mean, I never knew that I had this gift since the point I was born. It is so recent that I got to know that yes, I have this gift of connecting with plant consciousness and connecting with plant spirit energy. And it was, I mean, plants were always there around me. It was I who was not open to receiving their message. It was I who was not observing them, who was not listening them, who was not allowing myself to believe in what they wanted to hear, what they wanted to share with me. So this has been a really very deep heart journey for me to unpack the way roses have shared their medicine with me, which I'm about to share in this Relax with Roses series. So I would really like to encourage all of you, or I would really like to invite all of you to just be open and allow yourself to the plant kingdom or the animal kingdom around yourself who have so much important messages for you, for your life, and they can really make huge difference in your small daily situations of life only if you allow yourself to be receptive. So that's what I'm going to share in this self-love journey, which I curated on Relax with Roses. And still, in a week's time, it will be with people, with all of you, to if you would really like to give it a chance, which means that you are not giving this self-love journey a chance. You are actually giving a chance to yourself. You are actually allowing yourself to sit with or to find that moment or that piece of yourself which is really innate, which is really raw, and which is really authentic, and which can really connect you with your purest source of happiness. So that's what we are going to unpack in this Relax with Roses. Fahad is saying I'm just going to ruin my mom's garden now. No, no, no.
Do that.
We won't be trying, we won't be doing any such kind of activity to ruin roses, because while working with them, or while working on these messages or working on these exercise, it's our human and ethical and equitable responsibility, I would say, to care for them as well, to nurture them, to be with them with our authentic presence. So it's not about ruining. We will equally be caring them. We will be taking permission from them. We will be asking them if we can be close to them. So it's that kind of a journey which I feel that it is still very difficult for me to explain, because it is so much about feeling your own self, feeling and connecting with your own self. So I hope that this Insta Live series would have inspired you to at least ask this question from your to your own self. If you have never asked this question to yourself, please ask this question to yourself: that what's your happy place? The way Sohail have iterated, that define your happy place, take action towards it, going towards your happy place, finding the resistance towards your happy place, and then maintaining or keeping in that vibration of happy place. So thank you so much, everybody who have been following this Insta Live and this series. So here you would like to add something?
Yes, I would say that do join Fatma's course, because she's a great channeler of plants and plant kingdom. Because what she can do for you, it's not any other self-help course. You know, it's like it's very different. So she seeks transformation through plant medicine. And what she does, she mediates between you and the plant. And she brings that medicine and allow you to receive it. And once you receive it, hence transformation. So I would really encourage you to subscribe to Fatma's program because she's a great channeler of plants. And channeling is kind of receiving signals from different mm, consciousness. It's like receiving signals from radio, FM 101 or any other thing. So that receiver has to be there. So Fatma is basically a receiver. And medicine exists within the plant. She brings that medicine and makes it accessible to people. So I would highly encourage you to join her program, Relax with Roses. And you would see,
Thank you.
what.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being such a beautiful, wonderful, and enormous support in my life, always and still. I mean, still years to come. So thank you for being that support. Without you, I would not have been here. I would not have even taken a single step towards doing this. Thank you so much, everyone. So look forward towards my post, towards my stories, and I would soon be sharing this uh, beautiful nugget of my heart with you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.